Hey, it's Tesla Canuck here. I recently got back from a business trip, actually two. I was out in Las Vegas, Nevada, United States, and I was in London, United Kingdom. And in both places, I decided to go visit a Tesla store, just to kind of check out, the local flavor, that kind of stuff. And when I was looking at the pricing, it kind of, I had the idea that it would be kind of cool to see if I normalize pricing across, let's say, US, Canada, and UK into US dollars to try to see, if you normalize it to US dollars, who's getting the best deal on a Tesla, right? So, obviously, this is just an interesting data point. It's really for like giggles and bragging rights kind of thing, because exchange rates change and manufacturers change their prices to adjust to exchange rate fluctuations. So it's more of, just some fun, bit of analysis. So based on the way I undertook this is that I want to normalize everything. So I factored out the incentives, I factored out the retail tax and all that kind of stuff. And I just went with the base model and the base pricing for the Model X, the Model S, and the Model 3. Now, the Model 3 is not available in the UK yet. It still shows as being able to register, but there's no pricing. So that one's going to be a little bit of an outlier. But anyhow, so what I did is, I used the exchange rate as of September. What month am I in? That's ridiculous. December the 12th. And I normalized everything to US dollars, which you'll see kind of up there in the video. So I guess it wasn't what I was expecting, right? I expected there to be, some minor variations. And for the most part, it is fairly minor if you look at it on a percentage basis. In fact, it's really interesting to see how close the pricing is given having to account for fluctuations in exchange. But I did think that Americans would pay the least amount of money for the Tesla because, it's produced there. But surprisingly, the results are that Canadians seem to be paying the best price when everything's normalized to US dollars, at least on two models. And in the UK, the Model S seems to win out in that scenario, and with Americans paying more on a normalized basis for their Tesla. Now, again, this really doesn't mean a lot. It's not something that you can really action, because bringing a car across the border, if you're going to import it or that kind of stuff, it's a pain in the butt. I've done it, and it's also very expensive. So it's not really something that can be actioned, but again, it's just more for giggles and bragging rights, essentially. So it does get interesting when you look at the taxes. So again, I didn't look at the incentives. There's just too much variability in the incentives. Actually, there's a lot of variability in taxes, retail tax in the US as well, because you have a lot of states with different tax rates. Some states have no tax. Some states, the counties within the state also have a sales tax. So what I ended up doing then, just to kind of simplify a little bit, is in the US, I did some Googling. I came up with an average tax rate of, for the purpose of this analysis, of 8%. Oh, what is it? What did I do? Let me double check that. All right, so what I ended up doing for the US is I ended up going with 8%, and I'll tell you why. In California, I think it's actually about 8.25%. I used to live there. But other states, some have none in terms of sales tax. Some have lower sales tax. But I chose 8% because California, a lot of Teslas have been sold in California. Probably the most amount of Teslas have been sold there. So that's my rationale. It might be wrong. I don't know. Again, this is just for, giggles, right? So you could, I'm going to put the spreadsheet up on Google Drive. Anyhow, okay. So using 8% for the US. Now in Canada, for tax. There's only one province that doesn't have a provincial sales tax, which is Alberta, but there's still a federal sales tax there of 5%. And then there's some, variability between the provinces, but I chose an average rate of 13% for the Canadian retail tax. And for the UK, my understanding from the Tesla store employee that I spoke to at the Canary Wharf store in London is that there's a 20% VAT, value added tax, which is basically what we call in North America retail tax, which is included in the published price for your Tesla, which is a little bit different than North America. We always have to look at the cost of whatever we're buying, and then we add whatever percent tax in our head to see, what the end price is going to be. In the UK, it's buried into the price. So what I did is I took that 20%, when I did the base analysis, I took that 20% out. When I did the analysis with tax, I put it back in. So when you look at after taxes, then the Americans clearly win here in terms of having the lowest price and the best deal on the Tesla. So with the taxes, basically what it looks like is the Americans are coming out on top. Canadians are fairly close behind, and my apologies to my viewers in the UK. You guys are paying a lot more for your Tesla, primarily because of the tax rate. So what do we conclude from all this? Again, it can change daily with exchange rates or with manufacturers like Tesla changing their prices for local conditions. But as of right now, as of September 12th, I guess two conclusions for this. One, on a non-taxed, normalized US dollar basis, the Canadians are winning. When you factor in taxes, the Americans are winning, and the UK is paying the most for their Tesla. So that's basically it for today. Just a fun little exercise. Like I said, I'll post a link to the Google Sheet just for giggles if anyone wants to play around with it. But that's it. All right. So Tesla Canuck, over and out.